Welcome to another TERF Talk Down Under. I'm Stassja and with me is Ange. Hi, Ange.
Hi, Stass. Happy first birthday to TERF Talk.
It's our 1 year anniversary. It was on Tuesday. I went back to our first video and checked the date, and as a little birthday treat for us, the day before, on the Monday, there was a huge mediawatch expose on ACON. So good.
Very good.
I couldn't stop grinning. It was so satisfying.
I scared my kids when I yelled out an expletive because my tweet was shown and read out with my mugshot on it and everything. And because I've just got back from a ban on Twitter because one of the prominent trans activists had been going through my account looking through old tweets for words that would flag with bots, like, groomer and some of the words that we know. And so I just got back from this ban and I was like about it. And so I yelled out, F you, and that person's name. And my kids are like, what? I went, oh, sorry. I sort of saw it as like vindication,
Yeah. So you got featured. Ellen Davison got an excellent snippet from the Melbourne Uni event aired. Cordelia Fine, who chaired the event, she got quoted. Patrick Parkinson from the National Association of Practicing Psychiatrists, he got a little bit of his ABC interview aired. But the star who was not named was Kit Kowalski. Well done, Kit. Look, I can give you a little bit of background about how this all came about. So ages ago, I had a look at the ACON Pride and Diversity website, and that led me to their Australian Workplace Equality Index website, where it clearly states that they've imported this straight from Stonewall, UK, this whole indexing scheme. And I created a series of memes, like outlining the scam. I remember Kath Deves shared it on Twitter at the time. And from there, Kat Kariner was like, all right, let's put together a working group and we will all send out, we'll send out a series of freedom of information requests. So I sent out 15 or something, all to government departments, all on the same day. And then a month later, I just get inundated with all these responses. And I was like, it was really overwhelming because these responses are really bureaucratic and it's just a pain in the ass wading through that kind of bullshit language. But the ABC I didn't do the ABC one. I think it might have been Kit who did that one. And they just handed over fucking everything. So these idiots at the ABC are just like, oh yeah, what we're doing here is absolutely fine. There's no problem with it. Like, so confident in that they're on the right side of history. They just handed it all over. And from there, Kit held 2 or 3 Zoom meetings trying to get people involved in actually reading through all the information that we'd received back. But by that point, even me, it was just, I can't be fucked looking at this stuff. It's tedious. But Kit stuck with it. She read through the responses. She found the scandals lying in there. She's put it all up on the website, ACON Exposed. And somehow, it was the Melbourne Uni event that we went to. So that recording has been passed around employees at the ABC. And mediawatch got hold of it and they were like, right, this is a scandal and we're going to expose it. So that's the story.
It was really nice to be, even though, you know, it was just one of my tweets, to be involved in something on the positive side of this argument for a change.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the only disappointment was that, Kit's site was described as anti-trans, but it's not. It's anti-AWEI. So many of us have contacted the ABCs and asked them to retract that.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, it's a very informative site. It's not anti-trans in any way. And I thought that was a real injustice. So I hope that they tackle that in next week's episode, which I'm sure they will get massive blowback, because the trans rights activists have gone absolutely friggin' mental. I'm shadow banned on Twitter because my account has been mass reported. I mean, that's the only reason I can think. They're seething. But I was looking through some of the comments on Paul Barry's page, and he has stuck by what he said. He hasn't backtracked like most people. I think he actually knew what he would be in for. And he said, you know, all we're asking for is a debate. All we're asking for is transparency and things like that. And I was quite impressed, because someone said to me months ago that Paul Barry would be the first journalist to cross the floor on this. And I go, nah, he's sold himself out because of that horrible targeted episode on Catherine Deves. And I thought, nah, he's a full-on trooner. But, you know, and people defended him, saying, he doesn't understand what's going on, or he doesn't believe it. And I said, nah, that's not true. But I was actually proven wrong. So it was really good. But, you know, that just proves that there are other people within the ABC that also are concerned about this. I mean, they have to be. Anyone who's looking at ABC programming on any platform sees that it is pro-trans propaganda, you know, drugs and surgery for children, like, you know, completely dismissive of things like the male in the women's prison and things like that. It cannot go on like this. It's so obvious that even fence sitters and people that aren't aware of the great division in society can see what's going on now.
Absolutely. What was I going to? Yes. So I have spoken with Kit this week. After the program aired, she said she was jumping around the lounge room. She's so excited. I know that there are at least 3 of us who had trouble getting to sleep that night because we were so excited. And she spoke with one of the producers of Media Watch the next day, and actually brought up that point of, you called us an anti-trans women's group. So apparently this is what the producer said. What happened was they were having their meeting to finalize the script or whatever, and they actually voted on it. There was a lot of discussion and debate going on. 2 people from Media Watch were like, no, drop the term anti-trans women's group, and it was voted against. And you know, Kit said to them, well, doesn't that just prove ACON's influence on the ABC? If you're, outrageous. But look, I sent them a thank you email. I will put I'll put their email address in the description. It's well worthwhile sending a thank you message to them. I've done that, and I suggested, like, you're going to be under attack.
You know, for all the gender critical people out there, I've been saying for about 12 months, as long as we've had this channel, that people are watching our tweets, that you know, influential people are watching the gender critical movement in Australia. And I'm sure a lot of people don't believe me, but I think now we have some proof. You know, they're aware of what's going on, and even if they're not reporting on it, they're aware, and that's the beginning.
So brilliant. So glad it happened. What I'm disappointed with is that there's been 0 media follow-up on this. I really hoped that, you know, at least conservative media, it's like, Jesus, we've just handed this to you on a plate. Like, you can run with this and bag the shit out of ABC woke bias, and they haven't. So maybe it's coming. I don't know.
I think there'll be people rushing off to watch Nolan Investigates and be quite horrified.
Maybe. There was, I can't remember if it was Monday or it might have been Tuesday. Clarissa Bai did an article. Well, there are a couple of articles. Clarissa Bai did one about, if you haven't seen, Senator Claire Chandler put in a complaint about a very biased ABC article that misrepresented the science available on men competing in women's sport. Buttrose responded, and she's essentially parroted what the ABC put out a statement in response to mediawatch. And what Buttrose said in response to Chandler is virtually identical. Buttrose said, transgender and gender identity issues are complex and require careful editorial judgment to ensure informed reporting. Now, this is the clincher, without causing offence or undue distress and harm to vulnerable individuals and communities. Absolutely appalling. Zero consideration for women that are severely impacted by this, women that are losing their jobs, women that are being gaslit perpetually by this freaking movement. It's just appalling. And then there was another article in the Daily Telegraph. Kit Kowalski uploaded a video of the training that ACON provides to organisations, government departments, where, you know, this idiot is saying, oh, you have to remove all gendered language from your HR policies, essentially. And so, you know, erasing women, erasing mothers, it's just disgusting. We're obviously sick to death of this shit. And, you know, I really encourage people to take a stand.
It's not men being erased either. And that shows that also with freaking Pronouns Day and the AFLW and all the sporting organisations that are now full on advocating for trans rights, not LGBT rights, but trans rights. The AFLW, which is the Women's Football League, and now Netball Victoria, who have blocked me, have all got like trans jumpers, and they call them pride jumpers, but they're the baby pink and baby blue, you know. And the men's team, and we know that AFL, the men's side, has a history of homophobia. Like in all their, 100 and so years of being a league, there's not been one out gay player. That just doesn't make sense, So, and there's with the Hawthorn scandal, like there's all sorts of drama around, the lack of acceptance in the men's team around racism and sexism and all that stuff. So you would think that this inclusion campaign would focus on the men, but it doesn't at all. All the pride rounds and all the pro-trans propaganda is in the women's sport. And the only reason for that is they're trying to gaslight girls and women to accept men in their sport. That's the only reason.
And AFLW on Instagram this week released this image that gave a definition of lesbian as an individual who identifies as a woman and is sexually and or romantically attracted to other people who identify as women. Absolutely disgusting. What they have said is that men who are attracted to men are lesbians. Men who are attracted to women are lesbians. It's just infuriating. And there was actually an article this week, I think it was The Age, I didn't read it, but it was talking about systemic homophobia in the men's AFL. Meanwhile, the AFLW is like chucking out this anti-lesbian propaganda. Just so offensive.
My daughter was telling me about the Pride Club at her high school, and she said all of the girls identify as bisexual. There's no lesbians, there's no gay boys. Everyone's a they, them, and identify as bi or queer.
It's absolutely a trend, a teenage trend. back to ACON, another sexual abuse scandal coming out of Adelaide. So
More in Adelaide.
this is the third one in the space of 2 weeks. Now, this man, Mark Vernon Anderson, the article said he worked as a counsellor for the Victorian and New South Wales AIDS councils. So he's working on the phones or maybe face-to-face, I'm not sure. But, you know, I Googled it and the only New South Wales AIDS council that came up was ACON. So he's in court for sexually abusing a 14-year-old boy. And on top of the scandal of that, the boy told police he had found frozen bags of poo in Mr. Anderson's freezer when he went looking for ice. So just another example that well, look, Mark Vernon Anderson, he wasn't trans identifying, but, you know, working for ACON, like,
Counselling children, counselling minors. I wonder what his qualifications were.
It's just so reminiscent of the mermaid scandal from the other week.
Yeah.
No, where what was it? One of the board members was had spoken at a pro-pedophilia conference. Like, it's screen these men before you hire them. Fuck. Yeah. It's all very infuriating.
It is.
The day before MediaWatch came out, there was Claire Chandler went on Sky News and named ACON, which was great. Really good. But all right, maybe we'll move on to other news. How was Speaker's Corner?
Oh, that's top of my list. It was fabulous. Yes, it was fabulous. And a big shout out to Michelle for organising. We had a Speaker's Corner event in Melbourne on a beautiful sunny day, just coming out of, 3 or 4 days of torrential rain. And it was well attended. There were some wonderful speakers which have been uploaded to the internet. And and then we all went and had a counter meal, which was lovely. So a bit of socialising afterwards. Yes, really good. And there's going to be more. There's going to be a Christmas event. We're keeping it relatively quiet, obviously, because of the threat of violence from trans rights activists, in the 2 recent assaults. So, we're having to keep them relatively quiet. But if you'd like to get involved, let us know. There's a vetting process, but it's really, really good.
Excellent. Yeah, look, I watched all the speeches. There was one really moving one where a young woman was in tears. Like, it's ruined, the whole thing has destroyed her relationship with her sister. Yeah. Which
Women's Action Group is where it's uploaded. So if you want to look up Women's Action Group on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube.
I'll link to it in the description for everyone. So well done to everyone that spoke. How many people were there?
Oh, I don't know. 20 something?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I didn't count. Just lots of people I knew. And there's a few people that had never been to a in real life event before, which was great. Really good.
And they
want to come again. And this is the thing. Pardon? There was a man.
There was a man who got up and spoke.
Yes. He asked beforehand if he could attend and was vetted. But and everyone who's come along to one of these events for the first time has been really nervous. But once they've been once, they want to come again. And they're like, when's the next one?
Yeah.
Because there's such a powerful experience and an empowering experience. Yeah. And it's lovely to hear women speak, and most of them just speak off the cuff. They haven't prepared anything, so it is quite moving. So it was really good.
Bev MacArthur was excellent. So Bev MacArthur, she's a Victorian MP for the Liberal Party. She was the only one. Michelle said she was the only one to cross the floor on the trans the gay away legislation,
Yep.
also known as the anti-gay conversion therapy laws.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to have a chat with her?
No, I didn't. She was very popular, as you could imagine.
Yeah. Holly did a good, a really good one on ACON's influence on the University of Melbourne's HR policies and other policies. Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of which, there was a sociologist from Queensland wrote an article about the NTEU's capture, which was really good. And we'll put a link to that in the comments.
I haven't read all of that yet, but yeah, you just I think I've got it open. I've got like 20 tabs open, as I always do.
I was just talking about the capture of academia, and we're talking about that on Twitter the other day. And if you look at Melbourne University and who is funding a lot of their research, Pfizer is a name that pops up a lot, to the tune of millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So it's these massive multinationals with an interest in transgender medicine that are funding a lot of the other research, like even the research into COVID is funded by Pfizer and other major multinationals. So, all these socialists and anarchists who basically follow, an ideology that came out of universities in the United States that have been bought by pharmaceutical companies, that I can't understand how anyone with any understanding of how capitalism works can support the trans industry. I can understand why they may have empathy for trans identifying people. We all do. But how they can support, you can call yourself a socialist or an anarchist or anything like that and support big pharmaceutical companies, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, it's it's ironic. Well, look, speaking of the industry, WPATH, their standards of care, version 8, is under attack by, well, it looks like, I think Stella O'Malley from GenSpect has had a hand in setting up this declaration, saying that WPATH has completely discredited itself by ignoring all the evidence of ROGD being a thing, rapid onset gender dysphoria. And look, they had a series of dot points. It was really good. I've signed it. And now a whole bunch of trans activists have signed it with fake names and insulting names. And so that, look, they're going to have to do some work to clean up the signatories. But I will link to that in the description. Get on there, sign it.
Now that's a fine journalist.
It could have a big impact, And Stella's just gone on Benjamin Boyce's show. I watched a little bit of that. She's such a delight to listen to. She's so articulate. Yep. And, she's given I haven't watched all of it, but so far she's given a good background into the history of WPATH. Mm-hmm. These are self-appointed people. They call it the standards of care for treating gender dysphoria, but they've just slapped that title on it. Mm. Any other standards of care have to go through all these series of checks and balances. Not these standards of care. They've just named them the standards of care. Yeah.
Remember Dr. Telfer from the Melbourne Gender Clinic said that she had zero experience in treating children with gender issues. And the WPATH and OzPath are the go-to for all our politicians and for the gender clinics. And yet there's no basis to a lot of the things that they demand. Like at the moment, they're trying to reduce the minimum age for gender medicine to 0. Well, red flags.
That was the other scandal, was so that Stella was describing was WPATH. Okay, they released the 8th version, and it had minimum like ages for when certain treatments could start, and then like within 24 hours they released an updated correction to the standards of care where all minimum age requirements were removed.
Yep.
So no minimum age for getting your having a double mastectomy, having your testicles removed, having a full vaginoplasty. No minimum age. That is insane.
Yep. And I noticed, and those bogus suicide statistics that all of our government agencies, the ABC and all the other indoctrinated orgs drag out, all come from WPATH.
Yep. Ange, I have a bad feeling that I've done it again.
What?
Our guest, I suspect, is in Queensland, and I haven't accounted for the time difference.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, let's go for another 5 minutes, and if she hasn't joined, we'll
Have you sent her a text or something?
We'll deal with it then. Yeah.
I think our viewers can tolerate another 5 minutes of us gaslighting.
Oh, bugger. Sorry. Okay, what else have we got? Rachel Wong from Women's Forum Australia. She kicked ass on Sky News with Rita Panahi this week. So she's talking about, she's campaigning hard at the moment to get changes to men in women's prisons here in Victoria. She's done so much work on this. Her and another woman have put together a submission to, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's like the UN subcommittee on cruel and unusual punishment and torture. It was 24 pages long, or something like that. I read through the whole thing. It was really well done. So thank you, Rachel and Women's Forum Australia.
Yep.
But on Sky News, she was just really stern. Like, you could tell she's just sick of this shit. Can't believe that it's happening, like all of us. And Rita Panahi is good, is really good on these issues. So thank you to Rachel for that.
I was reading this week that Victoria has the highest Aboriginal incarceration rate per population, so even more than the Northern Territory, right? And particularly for women.
Yeah.
So that's who is most impacted by this.
Yep.
So we're all the Greens and all the other, Aboriginal rights activists.
Yeah. Exactly. And can toot my own horn. I got an article in The Spectator.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. Look, they've been sitting on that since the Queen died.
What was that one?
So it was exploring, men in women's prisons, and what really prompted me to write it was that I was really pissed off with Liberty Victoria, which is like, the ACLU version for here in Victoria. They're awarding a trans-identified male, Brenda Appleton from Transgender Victoria, with a fucking human rights award for his work towards getting men into women's prisons. That was what prompted me. I was just absolutely appalled with, the Orwellian backwardsness of all of this. So that's what prompted me. But look, Spectator were wary of publishing this, and so they made a lot of changes to what I had originally written.
Why's that?
They were concerned about defamation. They were probably concerned about this male, Brenda Appleton, having a go, putting in a human rights complaint because I misgendered him. So you know, it's really difficult. Even the Spectator, you have to be careful about using wrong sex pronouns for people.
I saw an article in the Spectator pop up about frog gender, and at first I thought that might have been you, but it wasn't. So
I haven't read it yet. I've got that one saved as well.
yeah.
Who was that? Was that Edie?
No, it was a gentleman, James something.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. All right, our guest has not arrived, so I think I've messed up the time zone. So stay tuned, all our viewers. There will be a second part to this week's TERF Talk where we go in depth with the mother of 2 ROGD girls. So we'll see you again shortly. Bye.